What's up? This is Chosen, and we have got a lot to go over in today's video. The fusion, as you can see on the summoning portal, is live. I'm going to give you a full grading of this legendary, including the multipliers of her 2 damage skills, which is her A1 and her A2. We did some testing today live on stream, thanks to the help of Troy and Adam Maxis, 2 really good friends of mine, somebody that finished the fusion in Troy, and then Adam Maxis has a spreadsheet that he built in terms of calculating multipliers of champions. I'm going to let you know what the multipliers of the skill is, if it's good, bad, indifferent, all of that type of stuff, and get a full grade on this legendary and the event, as well as covering all of the offers, getting you fully caught up. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, the first thing you're going to want to do is keep track of what you need for the fusion in terms of tracking the events and stuff. So it did end up coming online in terms of what we kind of thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be Bushi, Bonekeeper, Necro, and Basher. There was a little bit of confusion when we first got the leaked image, and there was some shadowing, so it was tough to tell, and I didn't nail it 100% on my first guess. I thought it might be Seer, I thought it might be Yaga, but then I figured out within 12 hours or so that it was going to be these 4 champions, and that ended up being the correct information as soon as we got the shadows lit up and saw it posted on Reddit and went over all of that stuff. So it came through kind of how we thought it was going to be, and now let's go over the champion and talk about how good she is. And one thing you do want to note when you're going to pull up a fusion champion is you don't want to do it here, because when you do it from the fusion tab, it shows them as a level 1. So what you want to do is back out and go to the index under barbarians, and you want to pull up the champion here in the index, because this shows them as a level 60 fully ascended. So why that is important is we can see how their base stat scales with being level 60. We don't care what it is at level 1. We care what it is when we have the champion built. We want to see what their stats are at level 60. So very important. And once we do that, we see that the base defense is 1542, which is pretty solid. That means she's going to scale well with defense up buffs that are provided by allies, and also by defense percent gear, like on a chest plate, gloves, stuff like that. So she does have the potential to scale and be pretty tanky, because 18.3k is also a pretty good base HP for a defense-based champion. So in terms of base stats to go along with the 100 speed, I think they got it right with the base stats. They fall in line with being worthy of a defense legendary. And as far as her kit, it ended up coming online pretty close to what we thought it was going to be in terms of data mine, leak stuff that came out a while ago. But we've got the A1 that basically is going to be a multi-hitter single target that is going to steal a random buff, and you can book this up to a 60% chance on a double hitter. So that's a pretty solid A1, especially for a defense-based tanky type champion. The A2 is going to be an AoE that places a bunch of different debuffs, or at least has the potential to place a bunch of different debuffs. Now, it attacks all enemies 3 times, which means if you get her in a stun set, you've got lots of opportunities to proc those stuns, and this can be a very good ability in the arena if you get her in good speed and accuracy to go ahead and stun the enemy team. And it's also going to be very suppressive in faction wars and dungeons. She's not going to be very good in the clan boss, but she does have a little bit of a capability to heal herself a little bit in terms of this crazy passive here that has a lot going on that we'll get into. But yeah, pretty solid. It does take 6 books to get this to a 3-turn cooldown, so it is definitely a lot, but the debuff chances are pretty good, and the debuffs are pretty impactful. Block buffs, decrease attack, decrease speed, weaken, decrease accuracy are all very good debuffs. Heal reduction is a lot more niche, so not nearly as usable in most situations as the other ones, but they are pretty impactful, and it is a 3-hit attack, so it's going to be very good with a stun set. And then as we move into the passive, there's a lot going on here, but I'll walk you through it really quick here. Decrease each enemy's accuracy by 10 for each debuff they are under, which is pretty good because she's going to obviously be placing a bunch of debuffs. This champion will receive 4% less damage for each debuff on the attackers. So you get a situation like the clan boss where you've got lots of debuffs. She's going to be receiving a lot less damage, and she's based on defense with good base stats, so she'll be very tanky. But admittedly, she's not going to be very good in the clan boss. Then we've got heals this champion by 1250 HP each time a debuff expires on an enemy. That's actually going to be pretty reliable healing for her. So in any sort of a dungeon or faction war setting, she should have a good source of self-sustain because she's constantly placing those debuffs, especially if you have her A2 booked to be on a 3-turn cooldown. That'll be very consistent heals. That is 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 5 or more debuffs at the start of her turn when she's going to go ahead and take a turn. Now, that's going to be a little bit tougher to get value out of, but it is possible. And if you get a situation in an arena team where you've got her placing a bunch of buffs, you've got another AoE debuffer like a Ceres or a Stag Knight, something like that, that places multiple debuffs. Like Ceres does the decrease attack, decrease defense. Stag Knight does 2 different debuffs. I think it's like decrease attack and decrease defense. Then you're in a situation where you can get to those 5 debuffs, and provoke can be pretty deadly in the arena, so, and in dungeons as well. It's not going to work against like the clan boss or anything, obviously. And then this champion can place debuffs on weak hits. That is a I think it's the first time it's been done in the game in terms of allowing a champion to do that. So that's very cool. It makes her a lot more reliable in the arena, especially when you're going up against those Spirit Affinity opponents. She's still going to at least place the debuffs, even if she's hitting them very weak and not doing a ton of damage. And then for the aura, we've got increased ally accuracy in all battles by 60. Not that great of an aura. You're typically looking for speed, HP, defense, but it is all battles. It's better than nothing. Her kit has enough utility that I think it's okay to go ahead and throw an average aura on her. I don't really have a problem with that because the kit has the potential to provide some utility in the game. But now let's get into the multipliers of her abilities and have a quick discussion about that. I know it's going to be what you are curious about. So first of all, I want to give a huge shout out to AdamAxis for helping me out in calculating these multipliers. I did do a video featuring a spreadsheet that AdamAxis did a few months ago. I put that live on May 1st. I will put a link to that video down in the video description. It shows how to pull up a champion and see their multipliers and how hard they're going to hit and all of that. So huge shout out to AdamAxis for putting that together and all the hard work he put into that spreadsheet and collecting the data and building all these different spreadsheets to calculate this stuff, and also helping me calculate Kantra's multipliers. That was a big help live on stream. We went ahead and tested her and figured it out. So in terms of the multipliers, we've got the A1. Now, this is day 1 of us, so the data is not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close. And for her A1, it's going to be a 1.5 double hitter. So it's going to be scaling 1.5 times defense and hitting twice. Then for the A2, it's going to be a triple hitter with a 1.0 multiplier. So what does this mean? In terms of defense champions, in terms of defense legendaries, she's about middle of the road in terms of damage potential. Adam sent me this image here that I'll show you really quick. So let me pull that up, and here it is. So Adam is a lot smarter than me when it comes to calculating these damage potentials and stuff like this. So what this is some of the defense scaling legendaries that we have had time to collect data on, and it's going to show, you can see, ignore the Torm and the Coal being highlighted. That's just where his mouse was when he took the screenshot. But you can see Kantra the Cyclone down there around Maui and Sill of Drakes. That's sorted by average damage potential, which kind of factors in the average ability of their skills to just do pure damage based on their multipliers and stats and all that type of stuff. So in terms of just being a damage dealer compared to other defense scaling legendary champions, she's basically middle of the road. She does have a really good base defense, a good base HP. So I think her damage output being middle of the road is fair because her kit has a lot of utility in terms of stealing buffs and self-sustain and placing a bunch of debuffs on a triple hitter that can be good with the stun set. So I think in terms of damage output, she's about right. A little bit on the low end, but not bad by any means, given the fact that she's based on defense, is tanky, and has some utility in her kit. So all in all, is she worth fusing? Is she worth going after, putting resources in to getting her as a fusion? I would say yes. Is she going to be God tier, Battle, Khazar, Martyr, Siphi, Rhodos? No, she's not. But is she solid? Yes. And my sentiment in general is always, if it's realistic for you to acquire a legendary, you should, because you never know when they're going to get the Masha LED, the Dracomorph treatment, and come into the meta and just be an insane champion. So I think as is, she's pretty solid. She's going to be amazing in Faction Wars, really good in dungeons. If you spend the books on her, she's going to be very consistent debuffing. She's got good tankiness. She scales with defense. She's just solid. She's not going to be godly or anything like that. So don't expect her to be queen of the meta or anything. But is she worth fusing? Yes. And none of the epics that are required to fuse into her are going to be amazing. Honestly, Basher is the best one out of the whole bunch. So you may want to, if you already have a Basher in your vault and you're using your Basher to fuse into her, you may want to think about fusing the rares to get yourself a backup Basher. A lot of times people are curious about that. They're like, if I already have the epics required, should I go through the trouble to get another version so that I can put it in the vault? I would say the only one that makes sense for is probably Basher. The other 3 epics are pretty bad, so you don't have to worry about cutting them loose and getting rid of them, in my opinion. But Basher is worth considering getting a backup, and you're going to want to keep an eye here on the news tab and go into the post and kind of look at which events are going to be worth it for you in terms of fusing into those epics and working on the fusion. So yeah, I would say if it's realistic for you to do it, you should go for it. It's always a good idea to acquire legendaries. We get, it looks like 18 days to go ahead and do this, 18, 19 days. The time frame should be pretty reasonable, and most mid to end game players should be able to go ahead and complete this fusion. Obviously, fusions are always going to be tough for beginners to complete, because if you're not at the end game in terms of grinding XP, and if you didn't have a bunch of champions in the vault and all of that, I sympathize with you, but at least it's a good time frame to get after it. And if you can do it, I would, because she's solid, but she's not going to be god tier. That's kind of the sentiment on if you should go for her or not. And now let's make sure and go over the offers in game. So let's fire that up and see what we got going on here. So this one here is going to be $50, and then we've got 2 million silver and 1,700 energy, and then 65 of the brews, and 10 and 4. So 10, 4, 1.73. Okay, so this offer is really only going to be good for high spenders who need books for champions. For people that are diligent about their spending, this is one that I would pass on. Then the mini mix pack, we don't have to. Why is mine 25 again? That's annoying. I was hoping that thing would go down to 10 or 15, but it was 20 for a while. But okay, bonus progress pack. This one's probably not going to be a recommend from me, but we'll plug it in just to see here. 10,900,000 gems, and then 10 classic refills. Yeah, 1.44. That one is not a buy for me. I would avoid that one if you can and spend your money a little bit more wisely. $30 for epic gear. No, not going to be a recommend. Daily pack. So this is the one that has the most potential out of all of these. Let's plug this in. We've got the 15 energy refills and the 2250 energy. All right, a 2.13 in terms of energy. So consistent account progression in terms of energy and shards and all that. That's usually the offers I like to go for, are the ones that are above 2.0 and have energy and shards. This one is above 2.0 and it has energy. It's also a reasonable price at 15. So if you are the type to spend money on raid, this is an offer that I can recommend that is worth buying. So I'll probably scoop this one up. All the other ones are not a recommend from me. The bonus offer pack isn't bad for whales and high spenders, but for people like me and people that are diligent about their spending, this is going to be the only one that I'm going to recommend purchasing. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Definitely let me know down in the comments what you think about the Fusion Champion. Again, just to kind of wrap up, she's not godly. She's not going to be queen of the meta, amazing god tier legendary, but she is solid. So definitely the best fusion event we've had in a while. Way better than Skull-Lord Vargal and Gerptuk, the last two. So in terms of the last three, definitely the best fusion. They're finally trending in the right direction in terms of putting a fusion that I think is going to be worth going after for most players out there. So let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.